I'll be talking to you for the next 30 to 35 minutes. I'll be sharing some points with you, some facts and some myths also. And after my talk, I'll take on the questions which I've already posted. And I'll request you to kindly keep on posting more questions if you have on the chat box. Then Sabha and I will take over after the talk is over, answer each and every question of yours. Now you'll be wondering why we have taken nutrition and vaccination together. Well, if you ask me, these are the two arms of good health and well-being for a child. Nutrition, it provides fuel for growth, whether physical as well as mental, and also provides immunity to some extent. While on the other hand, vaccines, they protect from many harmful diseases. So if these two arms are taken care of, you'll have a healthy and a very well and active child. And later on, you'll have an adult which is fit and free from all diseases to take on the world. Now, starting with nutrition, as you all know, nutrition is a fuel and it forms the basis and the foundation for good adulthood. This starts in early childhood. So unless we give good nutrition to the child in early childhood, you'll find that the child later on may not develop fully, whether it's mentally or physically. Now, the first 1000 days of life, that is including 270 days in the uterus, which the baby stays in, that is the fetus, what we call, and the 2 years after birth are very critical. They are critical window for development, physical and mental. So we have to look after the fetus. So when we look after the mother, we look after the fetus in the womb for the first 270 days. And then when we provide good nutrition to the child for the next 2 years, along with vaccination, you'll find that the child grows normally. So adequate nutrition, it reduces the risk of acute and chronic diseases, it decreases the death rate, and of course, fosters better overall development. So remember, first 1000 days of life are very crucial. That includes 270 days in the uterus. Now, what are the benefits of optimal nutrition? There are three most important benefits. One is it helps in building immunity against various infection diseases. You know that there's so many viruses and bacteria floating around in the environment. And if you give good nutrition to the child can fight these diseases. It ensures proper development of brain and other vital organs. Good nutrition in the early days, it helps that the brain develops faster. You'll find that the baby's cognitive development is much better if the baby is given adequate complementary food, and later on food which is we call it a balanced food. I'll come to that later. It also improves the child's activity levels and physical growth. Now, just to share a few statistics with you, I know you may not be interested in this, but you'll understand what is the problem of undernutrition and malnutrition in the world, and more so in developing countries like India. So 42.5% children below the age of 5 years are underweight, mind you. So there's a huge number. Almost you can say half the children are under the age of 5 years are underweight. 70% are anemic. 22% of these children are born with low birth weight. Low birth weight children, they take time to come along with their peers. It takes at least 2 to 3 years for these low birth weight children to catch up growth and be as same as their peers are. Now, it was calculated, or the statistics found that globally in the year 2020, there were 149 million children under the age of 5 years who were too short for their age. 45 million were estimated to be too thin for their height. But again, on the flip side of the coin, 38.9 million children are overweight or obese. So you can imagine 149 million children are stunted, that is too short for age, and 45 million children too thin for height. But on the other hand, 38.9 million overweight or obese. Any child who's overweight or obese later on can become an obese adult and also develop what we call as type 2 diabetes. So we have to guard against this. In India, undernutrition is a big problem. It's an important public health problem, mainly associated with low socioeconomic status. You see more so in the rural areas than urban areas. Every parent wants to give a good nutritious diet to the child. But sometimes it happens, that the parents may be poor, they cannot afford 3 square meals a day. So sometimes it becomes difficult for them to feed the child appropriately. So unless we improve this, the child is going to remain undernourished and may later on can acquire many diseases. Illiteracy of the mother. We have found that though the illiteracy has decreased in women in India, but still it's a very high level. So because of illiteracy, the mother cannot take adequate and nutritious diet during pregnancy, and also cannot provide an adequate and nutritious diet to the child when the baby is born. So this is a big problem in our country. Associated with poor nutrition during pregnancy is low birth weight in the baby, which may be due to other causes also besides nutrition. But one of the main causes is poor nutrition to the mother. So what is the solution to this? Basically, we should improve the socioeconomic and literacy status of the mothers. If the mothers are better educated, they'll know how to look after the children. They'll know what diet to be given to the child. And if we improve the nutrition of the mother during pregnancy, we can also improve the well-being of the fetus and later on the baby who is born, and decrease the incidence of low birth weight. So improving knowledge of mothers about feeding will help in improving children's nutritional status. I'm stressing upon mothers here because most of the time, especially in the rural setup, the mothers are there who look after the child. The father goes out to work, while of course the things are changing now, especially in the urban areas where mother and father both share the responsibility of bringing up the child. But still, because in our country, most of the population is rural based, where the mother is the person who's looking after the child. So it's very important that mothers are given all the education and told how to feed the child. So I'll start from the birth. What should be the diet for a baby after birth? Well, as all of you know, breastfeeding is the best. Nothing like breastfeeding. जैसे हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना कि माँ का दूध अमृत समान है, बस वही समझ के चलिए कि माँ का दूध अमृत समान है. उससे अच्छा और कोई डाइट बच्चे के लिए नहीं हो सकता है. And optimal breastfeeding could save the lives of over 8.2 lakh children under the age of 5 years every year. So you can estimate the problem of not breastfeeding. So I'll advise all the would-be mothers and the young mothers, please breastfeed the child, which is the best feed you can always give to the baby. So what are the advantages of giving breastfeeding to the baby? The advantages for the mother, advantages for the baby. So if you can see on the left-hand side, it provides ideal nutrition. So all the nutrients which are required for the baby, except for minor here and there, is best for the baby. All the mammals actually, they produce milk. So the mammals which produce milk, or the what we call mammals as such, produce milk. So this milk is suitable for their own offspring. Cow's milk is suitable for the calf. Goat's milk is suitable for the offspring of the goat. So that's why human milk is suitable for the human baby. You see the cow's milk has got a lot of very high proteins and different type of proteins which are not much suitable for the human baby. So breast milk provides ideal nutrition, a balanced protein, vitamins, minerals, carbohydrates, etc. It helps in fighting off viruses and bacteria because it's got a lot of antibodies, natural antibodies are there. So it helps fight off viruses and bacteria. It protects against allergies and also increases vaccination efficacy. On the other hand, for the mother, it lowers the risk of breast and ovarian cancer. If you feed the baby for the first 2 years of the baby's life, then it definitely lowers the risk of breast and ovarian cancer later on. The mother loses weight after pregnancy much faster if the mother is breastfeeding. The uterus also returns to its pre-pregnancy size much earlier. Breastfeeding to some extent provides contraception, not 100% contraception, but yes, to some extent it does provide contraception. And not to mention about the economic part, it definitely saves money because you're not spending on formula feeds or not spending on milk, buying milk from outside. Only thing is you have to look after the nutrition of the mother. So it's free of cost. Last but not the least, the benefit, the most important one, I would say, is maternal infant bonding. If you feed the baby in the first 2 years, you bond better with the child. So children who are breastfed as babies are less likely to be overweight or obese. And it's been noticed in various studies that they perform better on intelligence tests. The higher school attendance because they remain healthy on breastfeeds. Later on, when they go to school also, they miss out school much less as compared to other babies. It definitely improves child development, reduces the cost which you may spend on the health problems of the child. So it's economic gain for individual families as well as a nation. So again, I'll say breastfeeding is the best for a newborn baby until the age of 2 years. So it's an important source of energy and nutrients in children. Remember, it provides almost half of child's energy needs between the age of 6 and 12 months, and one third of energy needs between the age of 12 and 24 months. Even when the child is ill, you, the child is breastfed, then it provides critical source of energy. Also helps in reducing the death rate among children who are malnourished. If the malnourished children are given breastfeeds, it decreases the death rate among them. So how to breastfeed? There are a few tips about that. Often I've been asked questions by the mother, doctor, this is my first baby. She goes on crying. How do I know that my baby is crying for a feed? How do I know that I have to feed her now? Or is she crying for something else? So it's not that the baby cries only for hunger. They cry besides hunger for many reasons. And many a times it happens, when you probably the baby has passed stool, the baby has passed urine, the diaper is wet, the baby is wet. So baby feels uncomfortable. So baby will start crying. Don't think that every time the baby cries and you have to feed the baby. You might say, oh, I've just fed the baby about half an hour, 45 minutes before. Why is she crying now? I don't think she should be hungry. So look, see whether there's a baby has soiled the diaper. So sometimes, over enthusiastically, what we do is we cover the baby too much, put layers of clothing over the baby, even in summers, without realizing that babies also feel hot and cold. So babies cry if they feel too hot. If the babies feel cold, they cry for that. Sometimes, just for that, they want to be picked up and cuddled. Every baby wants little affection from the mother, from the parents. So sometimes it happens, they may be crying, they just want to be picked up. And when once you pick up the baby, you feel, oh, the baby stopped crying now. So learn to pick up early cues, which will tell you whether the baby is hungry or not. So you'll find if the baby is bringing her hands to the mouth, that means the baby may be hungry. And when you pick up the baby will turn her head towards your breast. So that means the baby is hungry. Sometimes, lip sucking, lip licking and sucking movements, they indicate that the baby is hungry. Or generalized, maybe just a little fussy. So baby may be hungry. If these cues are missed, then she may start crying vigorously because of hunger. So see that you pick up these cues for breastfeeding. So whenever the baby cries, firstly check if the diaper is soiled and change it. So ensure that nothing else is bothering the baby. So sometimes, baby, they cry because they have pain in the abdomen also. That cry will be totally different from a hunger cry, where the baby will just lift up the legs and start crying vigorously, continuously. So and becomes absolutely red. So think that the baby may be having colic or pain in the abdomen. So when that happens, when you feel that diaper is not soiled and the baby is not crying because of pain in the abdomen, put the baby to the breast. If she's hungry, she'll start feeding immediately and feed as long as possible as she wants to at one breast. Normally, you'll find that within 15 minutes or so, a baby is satisfied. So once the baby is satisfied, then the baby will leave the breast and go to sleep. But remember to give both the fore and hind milk. What I mean by fore and hind milk is, fore milk is the milk which comes initially when you feed the baby. That milk is little watery, which quenches the thirst of the baby. The hind milk is the milk which is slightly concentrated and contains all the nutrients. So both fore and hind milk should be given to the baby. So if you feed continuously for about 15 minutes or so, you'll find that both fore and hind milk are given to the baby. So it's very important to take the breastfeeding position. So here, 4 positions are shown here. So this is called the cradle hold position. You can make out the pictures self-explanatory, how to hold the baby. Second position is this way. Third is what we call as a football hold. And you can also feed the baby lying on your side. It's not necessary that every time you have to sit up and feed the baby. You can feed the baby in lying position also. But remember, after feeding, baby should be burped properly. Otherwise, the gas collects in the abdomen and the baby develops pain in the abdomen, or what we call is the evening colic. Every time in the evening, you'll find the baby screaming, shouting by the end of the evening. That's because all the gas which is collected in the abdomen, and that causes pain to the baby. So also ensure that when you're feeding the baby, that not the nipple, the whole or areola, you can say this is the right good attachment. The baby is attached properly. The baby takes not only the nipple but the areola also in the mouth. Otherwise, baby will not get enough of milk. So exclusive breastfeeding should be practiced till the end of 6 months, that is 180 days, and after that, complementary food should be introduced. Breastfeeding should be continued for a minimum of 2 years, and along with complementary food after the age of 6 months. But remember, whenever you're breastfeeding the baby, communicate with the baby. Be what we call is responsive feeding. Look into the eyes, touch the baby, and caress the baby while feeding. Every baby wants love and affection, and you can show the love and affection to the baby by touching the baby and caressing the baby while you feed. So that's one very important thing. Sometimes, what may happen, I'm saying 15 minutes, but sometimes, there are few babies where sleep off after taking feed for 5 minutes. Then they'll again get up after half an hour, again want to feed. So it's better if they sleep off early to wake up the child by just, they're rubbing the lobe of the ear or, stroking the sole of the foot. So you can wake up the baby, and so that the baby completes the feed during one sitting only. You don't have to keep on feeding up every half an hour. Now, the complementary feeding. After the age of 6 months, you have to introduce suitable semi-solid food, what we call is the complementary feeding. So if this complementary feeding is delayed, we miss the critical period. And if we miss this critical period, later on the child may become a poor chewer and poor in eating solids. So we should not miss this window of opportunity. Exclusive breastfeeding for first 6 months, no need of water also to be given, because breast milk in itself has plenty of water, so you don't require to give water also. And after the age of 6 months, give complement. We don't use the word weaning now. Weaning is out. It is what we say complementary feeding. That is, along with breastfeed, you give food to the child. Now, what is complete food and what is balanced food? Food which contains proteins, carbohydrates, minerals, fats, vitamins, fibers, etc. is complete food. So it should contain all the ingredients: protein, carbohydrate, minerals, fats, etc. While a balanced food is food which contains these components in appropriate portions. That is balanced food. But please remember, no food in itself is perfectly complete or balanced. So that's why you have to combine various foods in a child's diet. Just giving chapati is not enough. Just giving rice is not enough. Rice and dal. You have to add other things also. So it should be a balanced food in appropriate proportion. Now, this is an example of a balanced food. So a little bit of oil, salt, and sugar. If you're a non-vegetarian, you can add meat, fish, eggs. If you're not, there are many alternatives available for vegetarian families also. You can pulses, legumes, cheese, paneer, milk, yogurt. So all these are alternatives for milk also. Vegetables, see that different colored vegetables are used. You can see a brinjal is there, tomato is there, capsicum is there. So all these vegetables, green leafy vegetables. So see the color of the vegetables: green vegetable, this is purple vegetable, this is red, this is yellow. So take vegetables of 4 or 5 colors and then mix them. You'll find that child also enjoys that. Add fruits. Don't give fruit juices. Fruit juices are a big no, because fruit juice only gives the juice. It does not give the fiber to the child. So as far as possible, avoid juices. Give whole fruit to the child because it contains fiber also. Of course, remove the seeds from there. That's very important. Otherwise, the child may choke on it. Then grains. Give a mixture of grains, rice, wheat. Whenever you're giving bread, please see to it that it's a multi-cereal bread. Don't give white bread, which is available commercially. Noodles, well, it's been shown here. Sometimes once in a while you can give to change the taste of the child, but should not form a regular diet. So this is an example of a balanced food. Now let's see how you can make a balanced food. For a child who's you starting complementary feeding, even older child, a cereal, that is, you take rice or wheat based food which is mixed with pulses, nuts, vegetables, and it is cooked in oil or ghee. Now nuts, the one thing about nuts I must mention here, nuts are very nutritious, but whenever you're giving nuts to small children, see to it that you give crushed nuts. Because if there are pieces of nuts in that, what may happen, the child may aspirate, will go into the respiratory tract and child may choke over it. So please ensure that whenever you're giving nuts to the child, it is very nutritious, of course, but give crushed nuts and not whole nuts. So, like you can see from here, this khichdi has been made here. This is a poha which has been made. You can add sweet potato or potato to it. Again, a different dal has been used to making khichdi. Then addition of cereals, nuts, raisin, etc. in the milk. So you can give a little sweet dessert, like you can give suji ka kheer, sabudana kheer. You can give rice ka kheer. Add a little crushed nuts in that or mashed nuts in it. So that will make a wholesome meal for the child itself. So what should be the appropriate diet? So combination of cereals and pulses, khichdi, dal, etc. Locally available staple food. Just remember one thing, that whatever you're consuming at home, give to the child. It's not necessary that what you're not consuming, you have to buy from outside. No. Firstly, commercial foods are not advisable. So it's better that if you make whatever you're having at home, whatever is your staple diet, you give that to the child. So you can give locally available staple food such as idli, dosa, dhokla, chapati, roti, paratha with some amount of sugar. Fruits, pulpy fruits. You can give mashed banana, give mango, papaya, sweet potato, and potatoes. You can start with this. You can give milk-based cereal preparation, which I just mentioned. Then, of course, sprouts, pulses, legumes, groundnuts, almonds, all are very healthy. So this can be made in different forms and given to the children. Avoidable. What is avoidable is biscuits, pastry, chocolates, ice cream, donuts, cakes, because they have only calories. They hardly have any nutrients. So try and avoid that. Totally avoid commercial breakfast cereals. Totally avoid Cerelac. No need of giving Cerelac to the baby. Give homemade, home cooked food.
अच्छा ना
I request you to kindly mute your mics, please. So, big no-no is tin food or packaged food. Repeatedly fried food. Don't fry food repeatedly in the same oil. What it releases, what it calls the trans fatty acids. These predispose to obesity and diabetes, and later on cause heart and neurological problems. So don't refry. Don't use that refried oil. So whenever you give cooking for the child, also see that, or for yourself, don't use the oil which has already been used, because it releases trans fatty acids. So what should be the consistency? You can see from the right side, what you can, the food which is dripping continuously from a spoon, it's too thin. The right consistency is this one shown on the left. It is not dripping consistently, coming in chunks. So this is the right consistency what you should use for the children. So what should be the adequate amounts to be offered to the child? At the age of 6 to 8 months, give mashed foods or thick porridges daily, 2 to 3 meals, along with frequent breastfeeding. So start with 1 meal a day, go on to 2 meals, and gradually to 3 meals. Start gradually. Don't suddenly start 3 meals in a day. The child will not be able to digest it. Start with 1 meal, continue for 3 to 4 days, and whatever you started, continue that for 3 to 4 days, 5 days, and then only you add a new thing. Let the child get used to the taste, because initially, when the child starts taking semi-solids and solids, child does not know how to swallow properly. Sometimes you may think the child is spitting out food. No, he's not spitting out food. It's that child does not know exactly how to swallow. So it takes time for the child to adjust to something new what you've introduced. So in the beginning, you can start with about 1 tablespoon, then increase to 2 tablespoons, and later on 3 tablespoons full. A child who's 9 to 11 months, again, the mashed food, finely chopped food can be. And now you can introduce what we call as finger foods, a food which can be picked up by the baby. Involve the baby in self-feeding also. Again, daily 3 meals with breastfeeding. And now you can add another 1 or 2 snacks in between. 1 to 2 years, now you can start the staple family food. If you're having a rice eater, you can give rice to the child. If you're a chapati eater, you can give chapati, paratha to the child, and modify the diet according to what your family takes. So here now, daily 3 to 4 meals with continued breastfeeding till the age of 2 years, plus 1 to 2 additional snacks. And each meal should be about, say, 250 ml or 1 cup full or 1 bowl full. So how can we improve the feeding in the child? What should we do? We should promote direct feeding. Like you can see in the picture here, feed the child directly, and also self-feed the child. Put the food in front of the child in a tray or in a plate. Let the child pick up the food from there and start eating. And along with that, you can uh, assist the child in feeding. So initially, you may find that many food preparations they may be refused by the child. Don't get worried about that. Try the same thing again and again for 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. Talk to the child. Very important. And maintain eye to eye contact. Storytelling. Tell stories to the child. You'll find the child eats and interacts with you in a much better way. Try different food combinations, different taste, textures, and methods of encouragement. You can encourage the child with different things so that the child can eat more. One more important thing is avoid comparison, especially when the child starts to understand things. Don't compare them with their other siblings. Don't compare them with their peers. So that's a very important point you have to uh, think of. Eating at the same time and same place by family members, very important. Like they say, family which eats together stays together. So it not even the family stays together, but also it helps in improving appetite and avoids distraction. Do not force the child to feed. If you forcing the child to feed, child will run away from food. Best is to make the child sit with you when the whole family is having food together. Make the child sit together on the table or wherever you taking the meal, and feed the child along with what you're having. Also, you have to control yourself also in the sense that whatever you are eating, similar type of food should be given to the child. Child should not look at your plate and say, oh, my mom and dad are eating something else and they're giving me something else. No. See that you share the similar type of food. No distractions. No being TV, no cell phone while feeding. We discourage it strongly. Firstly, because the child can overeat or undereat, whatever. You keep on feeding the child keeps on watching the TV, and you don't know how much you've given to the child. Child also keeps on consuming, may lead to obesity. Secondly, they don't realize what is the taste of the food they're eating. So, TV, cell phone should be avoided because every time, otherwise, later on also when they grow up, they'll want to sit in front of the TV and eat their meal. Not a good habit. So, discourage this habit from the beginning itself. So, provide a variety of food. Don't give too many choices in one go. Offer small quantities, then increase the quantity. Be patient, very important. Every parent has to be patient. It's not very easy to rear up a child. You have to be extremely patient. I know in a busy atmosphere where maybe both mom and dad are working, both the parents are working, sometimes you will not have enough time. But see to it that if you can take out some time for the child, be a little patient, spend more time with the child. Make meal times enjoyable, not an ordeal. It should not be quickly, okay, come have a food, khao, khao, khatam karo, mere ko jana hai, wo karna hai. It should not be like that. Make the times enjoyable. Share the story. Sometimes the child, school going, especially school going child, may have something to tell you. Listen to the child's stories. So that will, firstly, the bonding will increase, and also the child will also get better appetite. He or she will feel that she is being loved more. So you must pay attention to what the child has to say. Experiment with different food shapes. What you can see, I've put up a photograph here, food shape of a face. So it contains an egg, it contains carrots, it contains the cereals, it contains cucumber. So you're giving a balanced diet to the child, and you have made the diet in a way it resembles a face. So child will be more interested in eating. So experiment different foods. Sometimes you can cut a chapati in a shape of a fish. Tell him, okay, it's like, see, this is a fish. Now you can enjoy eating it. So like that, you have to encourage the child. So what is the recommended food plate? I've talked about the quantity, but sometimes it becomes very difficult to, measure how much you should give and how much you should not give. Now, what should the food plate of a child contain? So this is an example of a food plate. 50% should be vegetables and fruits. Out of that, 50% majority should be vegetables, almost about 35%. Fruits, 15%. No fruit juices, fruits, especially pulpy fruits. You can give apple, banana, papaya, mangoes in the season of mango. Then 50% should be grains, that is wheat, maize, barley, and combination of pulses, nuts, legumes, dry fruits, milk, dairy. Milk, curds, matha, yogurt, cheese. If the child does not like milk, give curd. Try and give matha. Try and give lassi. or plain dahi, give paneer. So all these are, you can, the child is not having milk directly, then you can give all this. So here also in the 50%, you can see majority about 30% is grains, 20% is proteins. So this food plate should contain that along with water. This is for the children who are slightly grown up now. I'm not talking of complementary food now. This is the children who are about, say, about 2 years of age. What should be the uh, food plate? What should it contain? Now parents should be the role model. Why I have put this here? Because you see the child is feeding the father here. Take part in the feeding of the child. You see, you spend time with the child, you'll find the child will also eat more. You offer food to the child in return offers food to you. So it'll be a time of happy, you can say parenting also. You'll enjoy parenting the child. So practice this and you'll never go wrong. So the certain myths are related to hot and cold food, which I wanted to bring up here. Very important because certain parents have always contacted me and asked me, doctor, is this food hot or this is food cold? Please remember there's no hot and cold food. Whether it is summers or winters or whatever the weather will be, there's nothing known as hot and cold food. All food which are good food are required for the child. So let's see the myth. One myth is that jaggery, mutton, chicken, papaya, eggs, beetroot, mangoes are hot. No, they are not. Children require all this. So mutton and chicken, though non-vegetarian food, every family does not take non-vegetarian food, doesn't matter, no need of doing that. But it's not that during summers you cannot give mutton and chicken to the child or you cannot give eggs to the child because they are hot. No, they're not hot. Another myth is that banana, curd, buttermilk, lemon juice, guava, other citrus fruits are cold. You cannot give them during winter. No, again, it's a myth. Some parents also feel that banana causes cough and cold. No, it doesn't. It's a very good nutritious fruit. It contains a lot of minerals and vitamins and carbohydrates. So very good, excellent fruit, I should say. Uh, there's another myth that eggs and non-vegetarian foods are sometimes they are harmful. No, they're very good. Non-vegetarian foods and eggs, they, in fact, egg is a whole meal in itself. It has got adequate proteins, minerals, vitamins, iron. So egg is very good for the child. So if you are a family which consumes eggs, give an egg to a child every day. So that will be very good for him. There's another myth that ghee is heavy to digest. It causes cough. No, it is not heavy to digest because children, they need a lot of calories. They are growing. That as per their weight and their height, their calorie requirement is much more than adults. Sorry. So if you don't give them adequate amount of fats also, that is also not good for the child. Then there another myth that wheat, dalia, suji is heavy. No, it is not. And some parents feel that if the child is not gaining weight, if you give them Maggie and biscuits and marketed food, that will help in weight gain. No, that's again a false myth. That never help gaining a weight, which will be what you call as only calories and does not contain vitamins and minerals. So please see to it that you don't give all these things very regularly. So these are the myths I wanted to shatter, that there's no food which is hot and cold. So this is another picture I put up for a balanced diet for a child who's 5 to 12-year-old. Milk provides a lot of calcium. Grains, make at least half your grains whole grains. Meat and beans, if you're a meat eater, give meat. Otherwise not. If you're not a meat eater, give beans, peas, nuts and seeds. Oil, most of the fat should come from either fish oil, the nuts and vegetable oils. If you're not a fish eater, vegetable oils. Limit solid fats such as butter and margarine. Focus on fruits. Eat a variety of fruit. Mainly choose fresh fruit. You can give dried fruit also, but see the child is old enough to chew them and swallow them. Vegetables, eat more green dark veggies, eat more orange veggies. Well, sometimes we tell the children, no, you must eat green dark veggies, but we have to be a role model. Again, I stress upon that. As parents, we have to be a role model for them. If we eat green dark vegetables, they'll also start eating. Otherwise, you'll find they'll shun the green vegetables. Now, what are the foods to be avoided? We talk about junk food. Here I put JUNCS. J for junk food, U for ultra processed food, N for nutritionally inappropriate foods, carbonated or caffeinated drinks, sugar sweetened beverages. They all are high in salt, saturated fat, and sugar. Avoid it. So avoid this pizza, burger, French fries, noodles, pasta. So healthy food for a school-going child will be whole grain dal, seasoned vegetables. You can give paneer or chicken chapati wrap, sandwich. Give snacks like fruits, peanuts, idli, sambar, poha. These all are healthy food for school-going children. Unhealthy food, pizza, burger, etc. Now, sometimes the question is vegetarian family. Is my child deficient? Now, many parents feel that if they're consuming vegetarian food, they may deprive the child of many vitamins. Well, yes, if you're having a totally vegan diet, which is sourced only from plants, you'll be deficient in calcium and vitamin B12. So, because vitamin B12 is mostly obtained from animal products. So, for calcium and vitamin B12, so you can give cow's milk, yogurt, paneer, cheese, etc., and give adequate amounts of soya bean, legumes, seed, nuts. So that'll make, and even if you're a vegetarian, the child will not be deficient in all these foods. So another thing what you can do is a few tips that let children know where the food comes from. Take them along. When you're buying vegetables and fruits, take the children along. You can show them, fresh vegetables, what are the color of the vegetables, and involve them in purchasing the food. You'll find they grow more and more interested. If possible, grow some vegetables at home. Even in a pot, you can grow some tomatoes, and show the child how the tomato grows. He'll get more interested. Decide the menu by asking children. Sometimes, not always, of course. And do not keep junk food in the house. Keep fruit for handy as a snack. Also, inculcate the habit of washing hands in the children also and before eating. So a little bit about allergy. Some children are allergic to certain foods, and the main allergens are cow's milk protein, soya protein, what is shown here, eggs, peanuts, wheat. So sometimes these children have an allergic reaction to this, but fortunately in our country, these allergies are not very common among children. But if you find your child is allergic to a certain food, avoid that food, consult your pediatrician, and then you can take it on from there. But see to it that whenever you're introducing such foods, introduce one at a time, so you will come to know whether the child is allergic to it or not. So that was about nutrition. Now a word about vaccinations. So the World Health Organization had celebrated the World Immunization Week between 24th to 30th April with the hashtag of long life for all. So WHO says if you could see viruses, you'd know they're all around. Life is too precious to let preventable diseases get in the way. Vaccines work. So vaccines have an impact on the health, on the economic status of the family and the nation, and also a social impact by increasing the life expectancy and empowering women. So vaccines are very important. They prevent millions of deaths every year. They harness the body immune system, and they create defenses against future infections. It's a proven way to prevent disease. Smallpox has been totally eradicated from the world. Polio is on the verge of eradication. Already it has been eradicated from India, and you'll find in the years to come, it will be eradicated throughout the world. So how do vaccines work? Let's just illustrate with this diagram. So whenever there's a pathogen, say let's say example of a measles or a flu or a chickenpox, when this enters the body produces antibody to fight these organisms. But it takes some time for the antibody to be produced. During that time, the child suffers from the illness. If a new pathogen enters, there's no antibody, so the child will suffer from the illness. But like this, if antibody has already been produced, then if any antigen or any virus enters the body, the antibodies are ready to tackle this organism. So vaccines work in this fashion only. So a tiny weakened non-dangerous fragment of the organism, it is entered in the body and it produces antibodies, produces memory cells. It's like you can say a computer hard disk where it stores that what antigen it has encountered, what organism it has encountered. So whenever the same organism enters the body, the antibodies fight it and kill the organism. So the various vaccines which are available, the almost 20 vaccines which are available, which can prevent infectious diseases. There are two schedules which are there. One is the National Immunization Schedule that is given by the government. Of course, all the experts take part in that and make a schedule. So these are the vaccines which you must always give to the children, given free of cost in any government agency, government hospital, or a government clinic. So it's a little different from what Indian Academy of Pediatrics recommends. So this vaccines you all must be aware of, because whenever you consult a pediatrician, they'll give you a chart of what vaccine should be given. I'll just talk about the difference in the two schedules. Second schedule is by the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, where they recommend some additional vaccines which are not in the national immunization schedule. It is not necessary to give these vaccines, but if you can afford it, if you want it, then you must give these vaccines. Now, what are these? What is the difference between the two? So one is that in polio vaccine, the national schedule recommends to give oral polio first dose and a fractional dose of injectable polio virus, give boosters of oral polio. While IAP recommends to give IPV and boosters also IPV, that is the injectable polio. In the national schedule, they're only given two. The one vaccine contains measles and rubella. They don't add mumps, but Indian Academy recommends mumps, measles, rubella. Rotavirus, the pneumococcal vaccine, that is which fights against diarrhea and pneumonia. Some states have introduced, more states will introduce in the time to come. Then other diseases like hepatitis A, that which causes jaundice, influenza that causes flu, typhoid, chickenpox, and HPV, that is human papilloma virus, which causes uterine cancer. So these vaccines are not recommended routinely by national immunization schedule, but if you want that, you should give it. If you can afford it, you must give the children to protect against these diseases. So which vaccines should I give to my child? Your next question would be, give all vaccines in the national immunization schedule. Others, it depends on your acceptability, whether you want to give it or not, and the affordability. Now, there's so many vaccines which are there, so many pricks to the child, but then you see some combination vaccines also available, like the pentavalent vaccine and a hexavalent vaccine, which contain diphtheria, polio, tetanus, H influenza B, which causes pneumonia, and hepatitis B, which causes jaundice, and polio. So these are the combination vaccines also available, which can be given to these children. Any side effects of the vaccine? Yes, if there are side effects, they're very mild. Otherwise, vaccines are very safe. Maybe a pain at the site of injection, there may be mild redness or mild fever, tiredness. Very, very rare is a serious side effects like severe reactions. Combination vaccines, wherever available, combination vaccine can be substituted for a single vaccine formulation in the immunization schedule. Vaccine interchangeability. Well, can I give a different vaccine or different vaccine of a different company every time? As far as possible, avoid doing that, because in national schedule, they'll give the vaccine of the same company. If you have gone to a private concern or a corporate hospital or a private clinic, if the same vaccine from this, when you're given for the second or the third dose of the same vaccine, if the same company vaccine is not available, you can substitute for a different vaccine, but try and give the same company. Supposing you have missed out on the second dose, there has been a extra gap, which has been there. Supposing the recommended gap is 2 months, you've already taken 4 months to give the second dose. Should you start the schedule from scratch? No need to start the schedule from scratch. You can continue from the second dose itself. No need of starting the schedule again. So what are the key messages from my talk today? I'll come to the conclusion of my talk. So first 1000 days in a child's life are very important for optimum growth and development. Exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months, then complementary feeds, give balanced diet, avoid junk food, eat right, eat enough, and eat regularly. That is the key. Vaccines that prevent harmful and serious diseases, the multiple benefits of the vaccines, that is the health benefits, economic, and it has a social impact also. Give all vaccines the national immunization schedule. If affordable, give vaccines which are recommended by the Indian Academy of Pediatrics. So let's keep our child healthy and safe, ensure good and balanced nutrition and timely vaccination. Thank you very much for joining in.